We're here at Fires of Holmes Chapel and we're going to light the Oxford traditional wood burning stove. It's 5 kilowatt, made in the UK, but we're going to show how to ideally set the stove up to get the stove running nice and quickly and nice and cleanly. So at first, we're going to open the door, bring your air control, which on this model is just down the bottom here. I'm going to pull that all the way out to maximum. We're going to start with a couple of smaller logs. So we're using silver birch in the shop because it gets warmer quicker. So we put the 2 smaller logs on the base. Then we want some kindling. So we're going to create a Jenga of kindling on the top. So we set it up almost in a 3x3 setup, slowly getting smaller as we go through the pile. The reason we set a stove in this way, which will look a little bit different to most of you, is wood is going to burn from the top down. And even just the heat from the firelighter towards the top of the firebox is going to put heat straight into the flue. So you don't get that roll of smoke when you light it in the traditional British way. So that's how we're going to set the stove, and then we'll strike a match and get that lit for you. So now that we've got the base set up with your small logs, your kindling and your firelighters, we're going to add some flame to it. So we'll just get onto the firelighters, and that's going to send heat straight up into the flue. Close the door to a point, leave it open just a slight touch for a couple of minutes. So with wood burns from the top down, so heat straight into the flue. Ideally, we need to get the flue as warm as possible, as quickly as possible. So that's what's going to create the draw through the flue, whether it be a twin wheel flue or into a flexible liner in a chimney. So when you get colder times of the year, as we've had recently, so early part of January when we had the cold spell, we had numerous calls about smoke coming back into the room. That was generally created from a cold plug in the flue system. So starting a stove in this way, adding a bit more kindling, adding an additional firelighter or 2, just to emphasise getting that heat into the chimney and moving that cold plug further up until it releases, and that will stop the smoke from rolling back out into the room. Once you can see that the firelighters then start to come down into the kindling, we'll go ahead and close the door. You're going to get a bit of blackening on the top fire brick, which is natural, but then the beauty of majority of stoves on the market now with having cream interiors is that once the stove then gets up to temperature, that carbon will burn off. So we'll keep that air control nice and open until we've burnt down through the kindling, and then the logs at the bottom start to catch, and at that point is where I would move the air control in slightly to control it.